Good morning. Welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Thank you so much for joining us on our YouTube channel. Glad that you're here. It's Melissa and we're in the meat bird production barn. It's the last day of May 2023 and it's this flock's next to last day of production. Today on our video we have a shout out to a viewer. We have a brief summary of our marketing train of thought and also going to just give you an update on the birds here at our little farm. Now we have a chicken population of 514 birds at the moment. That changes frequently when you're raising small flocks of meat birds. They are meat birds, Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens. They have pretty quick turnaround time on their production cycle. So at least, every 6 weeks, if we've got flocks back to back, the quantity of birds is changing. And we're actually coming up to wrapping up our poultry production for the first half of 2023, and we are going to get a little break. It wasn't really the way we planned it, but that's the way it turned out, and I think it's going to be a good thing because we've been raising birds since January 11th, meat birds. We've been in constant production since then, finishing up what will total 950 meat chickens for the first half of the year. So we'll have a little break in July and most of August from the meat production, and I think we're ready for it. I think we're ready for it. So our shout out is to a viewer that I'm really grateful to, has put several comments on different videos, has been watching our videos, and has really shared some inspiring ideas with us. So shout out to Bill S. from the West Coast of the United States of America, and would love to hear an update from you, Bill, on how things are going. As I'm thinking back, I feel like along the timeline, maybe you had a flock of meat chickens either finishing now or just finished maybe in the last week or so, and seems like maybe you should have another one about halfway through production from different comments that I remember you leaving. So I'd love to hear an update on how your birds are doing. But one of the things in a comment that Bill mentioned was that it'd be nice to have a video on our marketing technique or what we recommend on marketing. So I want to give you a summary of that to start with. Actually going to develop that more and plan to share with you how we've marketed the poultry produced from Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens over 2 years here. But I can summarize that down into 3 areas that are really helpful to us and that we concentrate our marketing on. So we can boil it down to product, people, and presence. And so if you kind of start with that, I think it's a good place to start if you're wanting to raise meat chickens or any kind of agricultural product, and it probably applies to any kind of business, especially a product business, but even a service. But the first thing is product, and I say that because actually it was a piece of advice that I got about 2.5 years ago. We were still raising the birds just for our own household use, and I went to an agricultural meeting and they had several breakdown sessions where different people spoke to you about different aspects of agricultural business, agribusiness. And so one of them I went to was an OSU, Ohio State University Extension Specialist, and actually 2 of them presented there on basically farm markets, farmers markets, and on-farm markets. And the lady that was presenting there, what she said really stuck with me. She said that you have to make sure your top priority, your focus, is a quality product. And when your product is a quality product, people will be interested in it. And when it's a quality product, you'll be able to sell it. And when it's a quality product, it will get to a point where it sells itself through word of mouth. And so that's the product. So start with top quality product. And if you offer a top quality product and you take care of the people that you work with, those people are going to come back to you. And when those people come back to you, if you keep taking care of them, those people are going to tell other people about you. So that's the people part. And so that's going to create word of mouth promotion for you. And we have really relied heavily on word of mouth promotion, and we've really relied heavily on reaching out to people. And so we try to do that on a regular basis. So that sets up the need for you to respond to the people with presence. And so that's the third aspect of how we approach the marketing: presence. Whether it's in your community on physical signs or being at events in your community or being active in organizations in your community like FFA clubs or 4-H programs, educational opportunities. Or maybe it's a presence on social media. If a lot of the people that you know in your community are on social media, why wouldn't you have a presence there? So we do that, but it has to start with top quality product. That has to be the #1 thing. And when, like I said, when you have that, we believe then that connects you to people. And when you connect to people and you reconnect to people, they tell other people. So that means the people are an important part of you reaching out to market your product. And as you're doing that, a presence of you having this quality product available to people starts to be established. And if you continue to maintain a regular presence, you know, so I can give you an example of that, like on social media. We do have a Facebook. Haven't had Facebook forever, but we have it now, and we'll continue to have it for a while. I try to post 1 time a day, and I try to post different things, but at least twice a week I do try to post like an update about where are we at with flocks or what's going on at our farm, our little farm. But just having that presence. And then so we've started the YouTube routine, and that's another aspect of presence for us. You know, we hope that it grows. We want it to grow to 1,000 subscribers, very much so. But you know, if in the meantime, or if it doesn't, it's still an opportunity for presence where we can promote not only our own farm but also agriculture and the platform of encouraging people to connect local folks to local farms wherever they are. So we're always trying to do that. So I would say if you're like raising an agricultural product and you're looking down the road and you're saying, I need to start working on my marketing. How am I going to promote this? Start with product, then connect with people, and then develop the system that you want to use to have a presence for the people that you're trying to connect to. So that's what we would say with marketing. So Bill S., thank you for the inspiring idea to even talk about it. I never really even thought about doing that because, you know, we're just raising birds and trying to do the best we can with what we have. So I didn't think much about maybe our experience with what to do with that would be helpful to the others, but I hope that is helpful, and I thank you for the idea, and we are going to develop that more, and when we don't have chickens in production for meat in July and August, try to do a little bit more on that. So product, people, presence. Start with that, and then you'll develop the things that are individual to your system, and that'll help. But start close to home. Start talking to the people around you and work your way out from there. And word of mouth really, really helps. And so does just following up and continuing to connect with the people who have reached out to you, respond to them, and that's going to help. So we're going to go back to these birds. So I did tell you we have 514 meat production birds on the property now. That does fluctuate frequently. Going to go back to them now. Enough of me. So that does fluctuate frequently, just kind of walking beside the pen. It's mid-morning, and like I said, with 514, that number changes a lot. It is the last day of May 2023, and these birds are in the next to last day of production. So this would be the day that we initiate feed withdrawal. And actually, as I've gone through the pen here, we've filled waters, and I've actually removed 2 feeder trays because this is the situation in the feeder trays. I mean, they pretty much cleaned it all up. And so this is a little bit problematic for me at this point because we are about 6 hours ahead of when I really want to initiate feed withdrawal. But we are also at about 80 degrees, and it's going to climb to feeling like nearly 90 today. So we're coming into the hot part of the day, and that's not a time that we want to give meat birds more feed. So this is the first time I've encountered this dilemma. I don't think I'm going to add feed. They aren't very meat eaters, so they have spilled feed on the floor, so there's probably enough feed on the floor. They will forage through and be picking up feed. So like I said, I don't think we're going to add any. Ideally, we wouldn't be initiating feed withdrawal just yet, but it looks like that's more or less where we're at. We're going to let We're going to let them pick down what they have left in the feeders, and then that'll basically initiate their feed withdrawal, and we'll take it away, because these birds will go, and they're hungry, but you know, we have to initiate feed withdrawal because they're going to the processor tomorrow. Also, you can see we've already got a bird panting. She's one of the larger hens in the flock, and we've got a few other ones, but we're going to open up the rest of the doors in the barn. That one's panting there too, I can tell. And this corner, this is our southeast corner of the barn. It is stuffier back here, so we're actually going to open the doors up, and that'll help. We do have a fan running. We aren't using the heat lamps at all. We're going to be taking them down. Wanted to show you this guy, that rooster. You can see a few dark spots on his comb. As these meat birds get a little older, some of the males do become slightly aggressive, and we've had a couple that have been picking at each other's combs and wattles, and that's where he's got some bruising there on his comb where another rooster had picked on him, and that's one of the reasons also we stick to 6 weeks, because as the roosters get older, they just become slightly more aggressive, and we don't want to see them fighting with each other here. So we've got that going on. Also, as the day goes on, another tactic to cool them down that I'll use, I've made ice blocks out of jugs, like milk jugs, in our freezers inside our house, and I'll wrap those in plastic to kind of keep them clean, and I'll bring them out here and set them down in the pen. Here's another big rooster. The way the lighting is, you can't tell, but he's got some little scars there on his wattle as well. There's a hen wanting to know all about the camera. So these birds will all leave in about 30 hours. They're going to go out to the processor, and we're going to have our poultry back from them within about 2 weeks. There's a nice big rooster. So as I was saying about the ice blocks, though, we'll position one or two probably back in that corner, maybe one up there. We'll put a couple in front of where that fan is blowing through. It kind of creates air conditioning because there's, you know, cool air emanating off of those ice blocks, and the birds will come around it, and then as that moving air blows over that, it carries some of that cool air with it. So it's kind of like primitive. We kind of create primitive air conditioning in the pen with the ice blocks. So if you've watched to the end of the video, that's a little tip that you get for managing meat birds in warm weather. So hope that you're still with us to hear that. And before we conclude, so this is about, I don't know, I think this is about 204 birds still in that pen. We did have to put our crates along the short wall because those birds are still agile enough, even though they're large, they can jump the short wall. And here's our 300. I think this is like 304. No, it's not quite 304. It might be just right at 300 now. But those are about 2.5-week-old meat birds, and they have outgrown that brooder space. So approximately 300 birds in 10 foot by 20 foot, they've outgrown it in 2 weeks. And actually, they still have the baby tray feeders. This will be the last time that we have filled those baby tray feeders. They're getting to where their heads are getting too big to go through the holes. They're also eating them down so quickly, I can't hardly keep up with keeping them filled. So when actually these birds, since they're coming off a feed tonight, we'll clean up all of their feeders. And when we feed these birds tonight, the big bird feeders will come in here. We won't swap out. They still have baby bird waters. We won't swap those out until probably Friday. But they're also getting to where 8 of those little waters, we fill them at least 3 times a day. So that's at least 24 gallons of water, and we're having to fill them the 4th round. So, you know, they're drinking quite a bit, and that's good. We want that. We want the water going in them. And we are going to have to rebed this pen before the bigger birds leave. So like this evening, the bedding down the middle where their waters are, it's getting clumpy. When I step on it, it clumps together. So that's not good for their feet. So we're going to have to get some bedding in there. And then actually this 300 birds will get this entire space that's being